All right, it's been a hot minute, and I wanted to just get back in the habit of being on YouTube Live and getting in the rhythm. I've thought about just hanging out on Friday nights, having a drink, and this is a hazy like a fox, hazy IPA from New Round Brewing Company. I think they're out of Greenville. I'm half blind now, but anyway, um, it's really important that I share why I care about Show Her the Money so much and why I've spent more than 6 months talking about it, promoting it, and believing in what these ladies are doing and the noise they have made around the fact that women only receive 2% of venture capital funding, but also that there are just so many inequities we face in business. And, I think about that we get denied business loans 2 times as often as men. The fact that when there is woman leadership at a company, they perform 63% better. The fact that women reinvest 90% of their earnings into their families and communities compared to men only reinvesting 55%. So all of these stats, facts, figures are fascinating to me. And I feel completely connected to this. I'm making it worse. That I feel really connected to this movement and to what these women are preaching. And one of the things I love is that they're sort of calling out women. It's, of course, we're calling out the systems. Of course, we're calling out the inequities. Of course, we're asking for more active allies. But Catherine Gray, the lead producer of Show Her the Money, the host of the Invest in Her podcast, the kind of mastermind and brains behind all of this, she says, fund women and save the world. And it resonates so much with me because this is an unlocked, untapped, underutilized resource. Women have been pushed to the side, discriminated, unheard, unsupported, underfunded, all of these things that Show Her the Money helps highlight, helps amplify, helps become a talking point for everything that we face. And it's been incredible to get to know the documentary crew more. It's been incredible to see the women in my community that also deeply care about this issue and deeply care about women being treated more fairly, women being seen and heard and supported. And it's just math, right? It's just math. Like the math of the 12 trillion minimum that we're leaving out of our global economy by underpaying, underserving, undersupporting, underfunding women. This is not just about putting more dollar bills in the pockets of women. Because what women do when they have more money in their pockets is reinvest it in their families and communities. a wealthy woman is a force that can give her time, energy, resources to her community, that can bring other women up with her, that can invest in real estate, that potentially supports other woman owned businesses. I think about the women that I have been lucky to interact with since the Show Her the Money movement came onto my radar, and it helped connect me more with the Knoxville women. It has helped me connect more with women in my community, some that I have not connected with since the storm. And they're stepping up to be vendors, to be share samples, to be sponsors, to be speakers, whatever it is, and care about the devastating inequities that women face. And it's 2025. I'm 44 years old. And for the first, I guess, really kind of 21 years of my life, I lived in somewhat of a bubble. I grew up in a village in Ohio. Literally, a village is less than 100 people, definition. And, it felt like we were kind of pretty equal. And then at my elementary, middle school, high school, felt like we were pretty equal. Guys would be guys, girls would be girls, but we had really strong women. We were really good at sports, and um, we I don't feel we're treated less than. I had some incredible male teachers, and they always made me feel smart and didn't seem to bully or negate the women in their classes. So I think I got lucky with some uh, progressive male educators, and I didn't really feel the kind of male dominatedness of the world until I got to college, and I was on a volleyball scholarship, and we had to show up 3 weeks before classes started. So it was just volleyball team, football team. Maybe there was some other sports, but that it felt like the whole campus was just volleyball team, football team. There's what, 12, 15 women on the volleyball team, and there's 40 plus men on the football team. So, going to the cafeteria during 3 days, our little group of women and giant group of men, um, you know, definitely feeling judged, watched, just, all right, what is this? Right. And then I didn't really notice too much in my classroom. Um, any classes during college, I don't remember feeling, the battle of the sexes too much. Went to a small liberal arts college in Northern Ohio, and I think that sort of just leveled the playing field in a lot of ways. I was an English major, so guess what? Like, lots of women, lots of male professors that just seemed to get it and were evolved and weren't chauvinists, and just some really great guys. The really first foray I had into really being treated poorly by a man was my first, well, I would go to, you know, high school was pretty good, college was good, but then I went to grad school at Marshall University. And that's when the power dynamic was super apparent. I was underneath a male Division I volleyball coach. Um, he took advantage of his role, and he would text players at all times of day or night. I am not confirmed that there were affairs, but there were absolutely inappropriate interactions, and there were unsavory interactions with me as a 22-year-old graduate student who was earning her grad degree by being a graduate assistant volleyball coach. And it might be different now, but at the time, all the D1 programs, I mean, lots of D1 programs were coached by men. And I would go to the NCAA championships, and you see Penn State and you see Stanford and you see these big schools competing underneath a male coach, and you would hear the horror stories and you would see the inappropriate behavior of these male coaches with some of the female assistants, female graduate assistants, female players. And I think that was a really big awakening for me. I ended up just being treated terribly by this male coach because he knew I was a witness to his poor behavior. So we were at a hotel one night, and the whole team had just arrived, and we were getting ready for the semifinals, quarterfinals of our conference's championships. And I don't remember what I did to make this male coach so angry, but in front of an entire room of the team, the assistant coaches who were also both male, so 3 male coaches, and then me as the graduate assistant coach, and then a group of 12 to 15 college women, he threw a box of tennis shoes at me in the lobby, in a hotel, in front of all these women. And that was it for me. We got through the rest of the season. It's kind of a blur. And I decided that I needed to tell the, it's not HR, what it would be called, the athletic director at Marshall. And kind of, there wasn't really a formal way to file a complaint, but I reached out and, alluded to the situation and that it wasn't okay. And they brought me in the next week, where they hadn't made the head male coach write me a recommendation letter. And he was there, they were there, and they handed me this recommendation letter. And they were like, "We good?" This recommendation letter, which is, in many ways worthless, this makes up for getting a box of shoes thrown at you in front of the whole team as a young woman. I mean, he had to be in his 40s at that point, maybe late 30s, but probably early 40s. So 20 years older than me, 15 years older than me, whatever it might be. And that was their bribe. That was their condolence. And he ended up coaching there for many, many 10, 15 more years. I always heard rumors of more scandals and such. But that definitely rocked my world because I thought I was going to be a college volleyball coach. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a coach. I wanted to do it my whole life. I loved it. I love volleyball. I love camaraderie and coaching and leading and shaping young women. And I have regrets around not pursuing that, but it was at a high level, college volleyball, college sports. I mean, I'd love to look at the stats now of how many men are head coaches of female college sports teams, but it was rampant back then. So next was a seemingly dream job, traveling all over the world, coordinating college sports teams to go on international trips. And NCAA has a rule where you can go on one international trip per 4 years. So it becomes a recruiting tool, right? I took Harvard to Puerto Rico, Harvard volleyball, and I took University of Chicago to Italy. So they use this trip, they schedule this trip once every 4 years to recruit, to entice future student athletes. And my boss was a complete nightmare, complete chauvinist, complete jerk, completely inappropriate, fraud, disgusting, got sued, got thrown in. I mean, so many bad things happened. So that wasn't great. Then my next gig was going back to being a teacher. That was my kind of original degree, and I was only like one credit short of being able to be a high school English teacher. So I got a job at a private school in Savannah, and it was the private school that kids that got kicked out of other private schools went to. So a lot of rich kids, a lot of privileged kids, a lot of obviously messy, problematic, troublesome kids. And I was only there for a semester, and it was horrible. The principal let him get away with anything. The male teenage students talking to me, a 23, 24-year-old, they called me the C word. They called me everything in the book. So a lot of male aggression there. And then I went to a different private school, a prestigious private school in Savannah. And the culture was so dominantly, we've got to be good at sports. Yes, we want to be good at academics, but we've got to be good at sports. So the male principal pressured me to pass football players, many that were from inner city schools that were on scholarship. And they thought they could just skate through school because they were so important to the sports teams. So had a male principal that was super old school and thought he could just boss me around and bully me as a new teacher, new coach, and literally made me pass the running back by 1 point. So instead of a 68, he got a 69 or whatever it was, that he barely passed my class. Like he got 1 point. And I had offered this kid, extra credit opportunities and all these things. And principal did not care. So that was, again, another environment where felt very male dominated. It felt very masculine. And so after 4 years, I left that school and decided to pursue writing full time. Writing catapulted into businesses that I would be profiling or interviewing or contacting, asking me to do more content for them. Early days of social media, blogging, et cetera, website content. So moved into that, and again had some really terrible male bosses, male business owners that I was supporting, that I was helping grow, that I was believing in and loyal to, and that was pretty bad. And any male boss I've had since has not been great. And I guess I need to kind of rewind to growing up because I said it wasn't super evident, men disrespecting women, but in my own home, my father absolutely was disrespectful to my mom. But it was kind of less, in some ways, less obvious than now looking back while I was experiencing it because he was gone till 8 p.m. every night. We rarely had family dinner. He worked 7 days a week. So it's not like we were hanging on the weekends. So it wasn't quite as obvious to me in the moment as it is now how the, male dominated environment when he was around was apparent. So I think, you know, being an independent contractor most of my life and being an entrepreneur and, getting away from, quote unquote these bad male bosses, I kind of navigated it until Trump's first election. And then it was like, okay, we got to do something. We've got to go do the Women's March in DC. Did that. Still one of the most impactful, memorable experiences of my life. And that was tough. That was tough. And then being in Asheville and being here for 10 years and not having a ton of male support, with the efforts that we put forth to support women and, ask for sponsorship and ask for support and talk about the inequities that women face. It's not like men are just running out of the woodwork to like support. So the older I get, the more apparent and obvious it is to me of these massive inequities that women face. And digging into everything I've learned through putting on Show Her the Money and all the stats that I didn't know about when it comes to women in business and all the inequities. And, this is fundamentally what is wrong with our world. The lack of equality, the lack of respect, the lack of equal pay, the lack of support, the, men just taking up too much space. I mean, I went to an event by women, for women, mostly. I mean, it wasn't a woman's only event, but it was led by women. It was talking about women. And somehow, you know, out of the audience questions, 3 out of 5 were men. And then the first question was by a man, and the moderator chose that and allowed that to happen. And it's like, this is why women want rooms of our own. This is why women want to be in women only rooms. Somehow the men still get seen and heard first, even in the most well-meaning rooms and situations. So this is a lifelong mission. This is a lifelong pursuit. And as much as it might just be on the side with, pop-up events and retreats and conferences and things, supporting women is my life's work, not just because I love women and not just because I want to hang out with women and not just because blah, 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 I'm a woman. No, it's because of what supporting women can unlock for our world. Can it unlock no more wars? Can it unlock no more billionaires? Can it unlock no more rape? Can it unlock no more female genitalia mutilation? Can it unlock no more child brides? Supporting women, funding women, listening to women, hiring women, funding women. It's not about the dollars that you're putting in that woman's pockets. It's about abolishing the inequities that women face and raising the entire world and raising the global economy and unlocking more success, more creativity, more compassion, more potential, more possibility. It's math, but it's practical, but it's right, and it's moral, and it's ethical, and it's the way it should be. So I'll keep fighting the good fight and creating events that raise awareness and creating circles that strengthen women ecosystems and connecting and supporting more women and giving them platforms and showcasing them and supporting them and uplifting them and just doing it all because I truly believe supporting women is the path to world abundance. So that's where my heart is tonight. That's what I will continue to talk about forever. I owe it to my ancestors. I owe it to the women before me. I owe it to the young women. We owe it to each other. Talk soon, y'all.